Welcome to Golgotha Bridge Ministries, connecting modern minds to the ancient truth of God's Word through current terminology and the use of updated metaphors involving cutting-edge technology. Feel free to browse the videos and articles to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe and like these videos to keep on learning.
Hey, Mike here. Let's look at some insights in the Bible. Just random, scientific, historical, whatever. Just random insights that people don't expect to find in the Bible. So many people have suggested that the Bible is full of scientific inaccuracies. This is understandable due to the fact that the Bible was written before modern science, the modern scientific method. However, if you look back in time, you can see many examples of the Bible disagreeing with the mainstream secular views of the world, only to be proven right through further experimentation and study. So here's one that I like. The Bible describes the earth as a sphere hung in an empty black void. Other passages describe it as a blue ball. This is pretty accurate. A little more poetic than I would like, but it's pretty accurate. These references are found in the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, and the book of Job, 26, for two specific accounts. Of course, the first mentions of the earth being round as early as 600 BC, so there were people that believed the earth was a sphere. But just that the Bible would go against mainstream teaching like that was pretty cool. There's still the fact that the Bible shows the earth floating in a void of space. This view can only be seen by satellites and things outside of our world. A second interesting insight is that the Bible describes a worldwide flood, which would have changed the surface of the planet, laying down layers of mud, killing massive numbers of plants and animals, and would have led to enough water vapor in the atmosphere to block sunlight, cause an ice age, and would layer the earth with layers of fossilized creatures. This is exactly what we see in the world today. There's also scientific evidence that the world was once covered in ice, just as a ice age would cause with the amount of water vapor in the air. After all, the world is getting warmer every day. There is evidence that much of the Earth's plant life was destroyed. So yeah. And also, most of the Earth's largest creatures are no longer around, which if most of the plant life was destroyed and only a small portion of any population survived on a small ship, relative to the size of the planet small, a lot of large creatures would die off from starvation. So a third interesting insight is that the Bible describes some very large creatures, the ones I just mentioned. One of these is known as Leviathan. It's described as having skin tough as stone and not being affected by arrows or swords. It's described as not being able to be captured or hooked. It is a sea creature. This creature is also described as having strong limbs. Many people consider this to be plesiosaur for some reason, but a more accurate look at it would actually match with a being called Sarcosuchus. Basically a giant crocodile thing, but like dinosaur-sized crocodile. And it could also be some other unknown creature. The other one that's more defendable is a creature named Behemoth, which is described as having a tail that swings like a thundering cedar tree, massive feet that sound like thunder when it walks. This is described as the largest of God's creatures. A modern name for this would be Drodotus sarkarini, but there's also a new creature that was recently discovered called Supersaurus. Great name there. Which could also match this description. Either way, it's a sauropod type dinosaur. This is interesting as it shows two examples of massive dinosaurs described from first-hand experience with human eyes. Another interesting insight is how the Bible describes God knowing a person inside the womb and weaving us together. This is a reference to DNA and what makes a person a new, unique person at the moment two sets of DNA combine into one. Now here's a cool one. The Bible describes that God created light. Then God created planets and stars. Yes, the light before the stars. While an atheist and creationist would interpret this timeline differently, we both agree that light existed before stars. If you don't believe me, look up the cosmic microwave background, or the light emitted from what some people refer to as the Big Bang. So in conclusion, if you've read through the Bible and reference it with what we know today in our world, you can see how the Bible is written by people with knowledge that people of that day probably would not have had access to. It had been revealed through God himself. This adds credibility not only to the Bible, but to the existence of God, even if you don't believe everything. That's all I've got for today. Stay well and have a nice day.
Thank you for watching. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell, and check out the links below. Have a blessed day.